A very good morning to all of you. I would like to start with a very intriguing question because the answer can be very complex. I want all of you, with your right hand, index finger, point to Chennai Airport on the count of three. 1, 2, 3. Point. Okay, great. So now you can see the difference, right? Almost 360 degrees. So every pointing to a very different direction, though you all know Chennai Airport very well where it is. You can actually go there. This is how we store information in our brains. We think that we know everything. We think, okay, we are right. But the way we are interpreting facts is different. And that is where I'm going to talk about a very interesting topic, which I've been doing for 17 years, helping people, helping students most importantly, is about finding purpose. And let me tell you, it's not easy to find purpose. I've been there, done it, so I know how tough it is. And even now, I'm work in progress. But at the same time, if you find your purpose, how do you create impact? That's what we're essentially going to talk about. And if you get into this journey of self-discovery, how are you going to land and where are you going to land? Always, it's uncertain. We don't know. So it's going to take a whole lot of risk, but then how do we prepare for it, right? And purpose is a very sketchy word when you ask people, who are you? What do you live for? So students typically get very shaken. Sir, I'll just do engineering or I'll do medicine. I don't want to find my purpose. I want money. Right? So how do we get away from this and try to do something which is different? Now, I have been interviewing students for a long time, especially for recruiting in the company. And one of the things that I ask them is to introduce themselves. And most of them have the same question. I'm an engineer, I'm in fourth year, I'm in electronics or computer engineering. But I ask them something very different. Who are you? And to understand who they are, I ask them to tell me one sentence for each year they exist. So for 18 years, tell me one highlight of the first year, second year, for 18 years. And believe me, till date, 100% of students have failed. They don't know who they are. What is that single highlight in a year which they want to say? But even if they say a few, what they say is this: their events, their experiences. Somebody danced in a dance party, somebody had a girlfriend, broke or continued into marriage. So they essentially remember events and experiences. And feelings, how do you feel essentially, right, as a human being? Remember, you're not an electronics or computer science engineer as an introduction. You are a human being. Today we are going to talk about human beings and purpose. Very early in life, I was born into a slightly, I would say, different kind of a background. I was born to a middle class family in a place called Odisha. Not many people know. In fact, the first time I landed in Singapore, I said I'm the best all-rounder and gold medalist from REC Rourkela. They said, where is Rourkela? I said, it's in Odisha. Where is Odisha? I said, Eastern India. I said, where is Eastern India? So Singapore doesn't know where is. So if I ask you where is Tianjin, you may not know where is Tianjin in China, and it is far, far better than a Bangalore. Right? So the world doesn't know where, it doesn't know my place. Forget about what my education and my background is. So I had to rebuild. So essentially I named at that point, in fact slightly earlier, my email ID is apnalife@gmail.com. And then after marriage, I changed it to hamaralife@gmail.com. Right? Why? Because it was all about finding myself. And long back, my mother used to always tell me, she was a school teacher. I come from a family of a lot of teachers. And she said, you should always chase your purpose. And I said, man, I don't know what purpose is. I used to go to school, whatever was given as homework, whatever the teachers taught me, I used to do that. But overall, I said, I think it looks interesting, so let me keep my email ID. And just by nomenclature, I think Apna Life went. And I was born into a steel city, it was very structured, and a lot of diversity, unity in diversity, so important. I was born into a Hindu Brahmin family, so obviously, in Hindu culture, we have moksha as the ultimate objective. In a Brahmin family, it's a lot more. Find your purpose and go for moksha. So, and it's hyper-personalized. Hinduism is a religion which is hyper-personalized. There's no standard practices. I mean, I'm a Hindu, I'll be worshipping a different god, having different food, having a very different culture, clothing from the personality. So 1.4 billion ways of reaching your purpose or your moksha. And then when I shifted to Singapore, in fact, this is in Taj Mahal. This is Singapore. I saw how magnificent it can get, right? If you have the vision, what can you build, like the Taj Mahal or Singapore? Taj Mahal from the previous times, Singapore, a beautiful modern city. And when you look at the journey of Singapore, it's absolutely different. And largely, if you see the experiences that have been there, those shaped my life. The first was the National Cadet Corps. The second was when I landed in Singapore, and I truly saw what was First World way back in 2001. And then the third experience was starting out with all these experiences. And how did they define me? I think the National Cadet Corps was the key because, I was obviously unity and discipline, which is so important. You have to show up. I remember times when my JCO, Junior Commissioned Officer, who I really cried when he passed away, he used to, if I don't wake up at 4 a.m., he used to kick me in my butt. And that's how I got to know how to wake up at 4 a.m. every day without fail. And I was just in grade 8, right? My parents would never do that. They loved me so much. So I really thank my JCO that he could do it with me, right? So some of the tough lessons of adversity, staying in jungles. In fact, it really trained me to be an explorer, right? NCC was what really trained me to be an explorer. And obviously, we never had clarity. In fact, we were told you are going to this semi-jungle, you are going to go to this facility, and I was in one of the good cities, a steel city. So it was tough. We actually used to dig our own latrines. And after the camp, we used to fill that up. We used to pitch our own tents. We used to go for a 4-kilometer run every morning. So all these were powerful experiences in NCC camps. And obviously, these essential traits of grit, perseverance, never say die attitude actually built up from there. And it was obviously a growth zone because I've never, in grade 8, grade 7, you were never exposed to something like this. And my only mission at that point was one of my super seniors had gone and he was one of the top 5 cadets of India. So I said, how can I, as an individual, be a top 5 cadet? And the only goal was to meet the Prime Minister of the country, late Shri Rajiv Gandhi, right? They landed up as the 4th best cadet, met the Prime Minister over lunch, and that was one of the defining moments. So that was about how high can I think and be? And believe me, as part of my first venture, I met 13 chief ministers just discussing education, right? So once you break the barrier, there was a very nice saying of Roger Bannister, once he broke the 4-minute barrier for a mile, the same year, a whole lot of them actually broke the 4-minute barrier for a mile. So it's all about breaking the ceiling, breaking what you think. And that is what NCC did to me. The second was landing up in Singapore, straight. And that was one of the finest experiences because I've never experienced First World. I was in Odisha, and then I was in India. And way back in 2000s, India was not as well off as what we are today. And I could see how a small city, which was which got independence in 1965, much later than India, within 20 years became first world. So size does not matter. Even at your university, if you think you can be world number one and compete with the world's best universities, you can do that. And Singapore did that. They said, we want to beat every other country on the planet. And they did that in education and hospitality. They have one of the highest forex reserves today as we look at uncertainty across the world. So they defined it, and they did it through innovation. That is the key to survive. If you want to survive and excel and thrive, you have to innovate. So these were some of the learnings of having global perspective, unity in diversity. There are 80 nationalities in Singapore. There are all religions. There are 4 official languages, including Tamil as an official language. And they beautifully run as a society. Discipline, vision, and focus on purpose. So as a company, we are only customer focused. We don't try to deviate and see, okay, is there any other thing that we need to look at? We are absolutely obsessed, what we call as customer obsession, right? So that's what Singapore does to a great extent. And as you travel more, as part of my sales job, as an entrepreneur, I travel to a whole lot of countries. As you travel more, you expand your horizon. And I would encourage all of you to travel and embrace diversity. Very important, especially in our country, we need to embrace diversity. All forms of diversity, culture, religion, right? Respect is the key. And the growth mindset, always growing. Very important to learn by living, because that's what I did. I was not a great student. While I was a National Talent Scholar, I was not a great student. But I can tell you that transformation you cannot download from the internet. Transformation has to be lived. You have to go through that process, whether you choose NCC, and transformation always happens in areas of discomfort. There is no comfortable way of transforming yourselves to be the world's best. I remember Usain Bolt writing in his book that he used to actually vomit blood when he used to practice. We just see that 9 seconds. He used to train for 4 years for 9 seconds, right? So it's very important to understand the work that goes behind transformation, to be the world's best. And if you do that, then you can essentially transform yourself. Now, once you transform, obviously, this was the third way, which was entrepreneurship, which was about creating impact on scale. It was about pursuing excellence with grit, because I come from a family where there was nobody who was a businessman. Right? Business was unknown. In fact, when I started, there were a lot of apprehensions. Why is this guy doing these things which were absolutely illogical? Right? But we did it, and we have to create structure from chaos. So important. It's very important that you will have chaos around you. How do you create structure from chaos? And that is what is going to define how you're going to do on your job, professionally, family. In fact, when you start family, your parents will tell you, guys, settle down. Family is not settling down. Marriage is not settling down. Marriage is a startup. It will take 5 years for marriage to at least settle down. Right? So it's very important that if you're starting off, don't have one more startup on the family side, right? And consider marriage as startup. Absolutely, right? So it's all about creating structure from chaos. And you have to be the architect, because I see a lot of dependence on jobs. India is growing. I'm sure India will create a lot of jobs, especially in today's conditions and an economy with the world restructuring. What India has been doing for a century has really been right. Right? It is proven now that open markets is not really working to a great extent. And the way we are growing, I'm sure we all can do wonderful things going forward. And hence, whatever the world does, whatever the chaos is, you must find your purpose. You must find your compass, your inner compass. And to find your inner compass, what do? You sharpen your inner voice. Right? If you want to rise higher, look inward. And all of you think, mostly when I go, I'll ask this question, they said, sir, intelligence is in the mind. No, intelligence is also in every cell of your body. In fact, each cell of your body is at least 1 trillion times more intelligent than the brain. Right? You are standing on the shoulder of giants. You have evolved over 1 million years. You, the person, has evolved over 1 million years. Right? And just imagine two cells coming together and you are born as a perfect human. Your mother or father didn't take any effort. That's nature. Nature takes care of you. So you have to believe in the world's process, in the universe, and you have to go within you. Because the stars, the stardust, the universe, each component of the universe is within you. And that is what will lessen the noise and give you stronger direction. If you don't have that belief that the whole world is within me, the whole universe is within me, then you cannot lessen the noise. Right? Now, to the question where I want to introduce the framework, how you find your purpose and create impact. How many of you have taken an exam without a question paper? Raise of hands. No one. I find it in including the IITs and wherever I have spoken, nobody has taken an exam without a question paper. So what do? We first experimented about 10 years back by giving a blank paper to high school students and said, write your exam, this is your question paper. They were very happy. They said, wow, sir, no question. I said, you write your question. And when they said, oh, I can write my own question. I said, yes, based on the difficulty of the question and your answer, you will be judged. And they were then started thinking, okay, what should I write? Then you start going inwards. You start figuring out what's your passion, what do you want to solve, what do you think, what are you pained by, and hence you should solve. So these are things essentially we did, and that helped them find their purpose and passion. So no standard question paper, write your own question, write your own answer. That's life. Right? And to put that in a very lucid way, this is the framework I would suggest all of you follow. And the framework is taking your purpose to the planet and people. And you're all students, and for students, essentially, you find your purpose and passion where you immerse in any environment. You can go to a desk, you can go to a classroom, you can go to yoga sessions, you can for swimming, running, debates. I was very actively involved in college politics. You should get involved in college politics. You can do a whole lot of things to immerse. Then the next is you must intern, and that is the real world beyond your university. So find out what's happening in the real world, and that is where you can create products and prototypes which align with your purpose and passion. And the third and the most important thing is to actually perform in the real world, where you actually become an entrepreneur or you solve somebody's problem and create impact. And hence, immersion, internships, and research are the way to go. Right? So if you follow this process, you can find your purpose, and finding purpose is not easy. So I always tell all my students, everybody I meet, that if you can do something 16 hours a day, and you're still not tired, maybe physically you are tired, you're still not tired, and you can go on till death, that's your purpose. Right? You are never tired chasing the purpose. A tree never gets tired. Your heart never gets tired. The purpose of the heart is to beat. You stop one fine day. It doesn't take Sunday off. The trees don't take off and say, okay, I'm not feeling like releasing oxygen today. Can I take a 2-day break? Never does that. So align with nature. You are nature. You are born out of nature. So flow with nature. And when you do that, essentially your purpose will connect to the planet. That's where we feel joy, happiness, work will be free flow. Just imagine, when I was young, you were young, when you used to start playing, you won't stop. Your mother has to pull you out. Don't play, study. Keep studying. Right? So, this is the framework, and the final message before I conclude is the dream is already within you. The purpose is already within you. The passion is already within you. All you have to do is explore and let it go. And if you do that, you have to essentially do one thing, act. You cannot find your purpose and passion without acting. So you have to act, and based on that, you can follow this 6P framework. I always sign off with hashtag Zinda. For those who don't know Hindi, Zinda means living life. So so my parting remark will be, stay true to yourself, Zinda. Thank you.